Hello everybody and welcome. You can see a lot of my cuts, all of these connection components, construction lines, and a myriad of other stuff. If you select on the background, you'll find that it gives you this orange line all round. If it doesn't give it to you, make sure that select all is, selected. Once you've selected the background, you can right click and say properties. Either that or double click on the background and it will bring up the property. And the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to load up standard. Now standard's already loaded, but I wanted to get these Z and X. And that's because I'm going to make a new standard so that the next time I open up a new model, everything will have already been preset. Over here, I'm going to call this isometric view. If you prefer 3D, nothing wrong with that. Now the next step is that you can either change this to plan or 3D. Now this is an isometric view, so I'm going to keep it at 3D. After that, orthogonal or perspective. Some people do like perspective. To me it just looks very wonky and really it throws me off completely, especially when it comes to seeing if stuff is actually straight. So that is more or less a matter of preference, but I'd say it's easier to avoid mistakes with orthogonal. The next thing is color and transparency in all views. Well, we can leave that at standard, or we can create a view representation. What you can do is you can set up different rules. I've shown how to do this previously, so you can create these preset ones as well, and you can even have them linked to specific view properties. That way, when you make a section view, it'll easily bring up the preferences for that specific view. I'm not going to change anything in that for now. The next thing I want to have a look at is display. And the reason for that is fairly simple. There's a lot of clutter. The thing I'm going to remove is these cuts. So I'm going to take those two and untick them, modify, and you'll find that those are now gone. Next, all these weld symbols. While they are great for showing that there are welds, it's not something that I want to see. There we go. If you do want to know if something is welded, hold in Alt while clicking on a part and it'll show you everything that is welded to it. Or you can go over to select assemblies and you'll find that it will select everything that's welded together. After that, stuff like component symbols, great to have there while working, but you can turn them off quite easily with these two ticks. And the same will go for the construction lines as well as points right up. As you can see, our model is a lot cleaner, a lot clearer, and easier to see what is going on. Now, other settings, not necessarily stuff that you'd always want, but could help, is bolts, for example. As you can see, the entire bolt over here looks very nice, but you might not have a system that can handle that, so you can always go and say fast. And what it will do is just make a line with a cross at the back and a tip at the front to symbolize where the hole would be. And of course, hole goes the same thing. Currently it is exact, but we can easily throw that over to fast. And what this will do is just give us a couple of lines to indicate our bolts. Again, it doesn't look that great. You'll have to take a second look, especially because it's a very light color. If stuff is actually the way they're meant to be, I find having them on just looks that much nicer, but it does drain your system, so do note that it might be a problem. Now, the next thing we've got over here, welds. Let's just turn those on. You'll see that they are just a little tick. Let's turn that one on over there. as well. And if we change it over to exact, it will visually show the weld, but doesn't really give you any control over it and doesn't really service any purpose beyond that. Unfortunately, you cannot do this in the model and we'll have to do it in the drawings. And we've got the same with these surface treatments, pour breaks, loads, and a bunch of other stuff that if we put in the model, we can easily turn them on and off. Now, the reference object is quite important, especially if you're bringing an IFC file in from the engineer to use as reference. You can turn that on and off here or in the IFC settings on the side. For the next step, we are going to go over to Advanced. And in Advanced, we've got a couple of nice little things, but not always the most handy to have on. The first thing would, of course, be centerline. And basically, your centerline is just a line right in the middle. Let's make this a little bit see-through of everything. Always center. Now, personally, I prefer to use reference instead of center, just because that something like this I would put on the back and then use my references to get it to be on the centroid, and that just works a little bit better to me. And over there you'll see that it now shows me my centroids are in the correct place. They're linking up with that, and that's an easy way to see if your stuff is or is not correct. Problem is that with plates, well, as you can see, the lines used to draw this plate is over there, while the plate is actually up top. So, can be nice, might get in the way. You'll have to decide for yourself when it's worth having it on and off. I'm going to turn that off for now. Now, the next thing we can do is we can put labels on them. And labels are quite handy for checking your work. Work with something like this, it's going to be quite hard, and it's not really meant for that. But as soon as you zoom in, we can see, right, these are all C, these are trusses, bracings, and it's easy to check our labels like that. I can also see my part marks are not up to date, as it gives me a question mark right over here. Now, I don't really want to see that. Now, what this is useful for is stuff like names, profiles, class, user-defined attributes. User-defined attributes is actually the most useful one of the lot, but I'm going to say, right, let's take a profile and have a look here. Again, not the best, especially not with a lot of clutter, but it can help make things easier. Let's take this off for now. There we go. So those are basically all our settings, view properties. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and save it. And that's so that I can use this setting as my default for my 3D views, as my default. Well, that's it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.